Hi, you are welcome back to my next video on anatomy and physiology. The last time I told you today we'll be looking at the 10 things you need to hear to help make anatomy and physiology easy. And these are those 10 things. The first thing is that you have to convince your brain by telling yourself that anatomy and physiology is easy. I told you that the brain is very powerful. The brain has done a lot on earth, and we all have equal size of brain. So what somebody has done, somebody is able to use his brain, is able to think to bring out what we call mobile phone. Somebody is able to think to bring out what we call aeroplane. So what is a big deal about anatomy and physiology? So this tells you it's easy, but you need to find the ways and means to make that come to pass. The first thing, as I said, tell yourself anatomy and physiology is easy. Let's move on to the next step. Please get 2 or more textbooks. Get 2 or more textbooks. Sometimes students find it difficult to buy textbooks, even though the money is there, but some finds it difficult. But I think it will be a good idea if you can try to always get textbooks. And if you don't have, you can try to go to the library, that is school library or the public library. When you get there, you can get some of those textbooks. What happens is that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 textbooks will all give you different explanations. They will all give you different definitions. They will all give you different presentations. And out of that, you can choose what you want. And what happens is that if you are able to choose what you want, it means that is the best for you. And the brain always take it and process it into the long-term memory. And that is one of the best way of learning definitions. Back at JHS and SHS, we used to memorize definitions. So if you want to memorize definitions, that is the way you can use. Aside that, when you use 2 or more textbooks, you get different explanations. You get a lot of ideas. So all the time, you show that you are on top of the class. And sometimes when you are sharing ideas and you bring out your idea, you bring out your point, see people start to ask, where did you get that? It's by using 2 or more textbooks. The third thing I'll talk about is always get a dictionary. Always get a dictionary. Now, if you can remember the first video I met you on anatomy and physiology, I told you that it's like you are going to learn a new language, and you have to find ways and means to make that language easier, to make that language understandable to yourself. And you can do that with the use of what? A dictionary. What happens is that whilst you are learning, whilst you are reading your textbooks, you will come across a lot of ridiculous words, a lot of new words that you've never heard about, a lot of new words that you've never seen. So this dictionary will help you to find out the meaning of those words. And if you are able to find out the meaning of those words with understanding, you end up understanding the definition. You end up understanding the whole sentence. You end up understanding the whole paragraph. And that is a nice way of making learning easier. The fourth thing that I'll talk about is always make yourself comfortable. Always make yourself comfortable. When you are going to learn, always make yourself comfortable. Get a comfortable chair, a comfortable table, a comfortable place, and sit down for your studies. The fifth thing that I'll talk about is this. Please stay focused. Please stay focused. If you are to learn anatomy and physiology, forget about whatever you have in mind. Whether you have a problem with your master, your lecturer, your friend, your parent, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, any other issue that you have, please forget about them and focus on anatomy and physiology. If you are able to focus on anatomy and physiology, all your receptors will be ready to receive what they are supposed to receive. The sixth thing that I'll talk about is this. Please try to relate what you are learning today to what you know already. Try to relate what you are learning today to what you know already. If you are able to relate what you are learning today to what you know already, it's like you are building on an already built foundation. And we all know that any house with a concrete, with a firm foundation, lasts longer. But those without foundation or those with weak foundation does not last long. So it's a good idea to learn and relate it to what you know already. But if you don't know anything about it, then it means you have to do extra work. And when I mean extra work, you have to find out the basics of anatomy and physiology. And with that, if you are learning, you don't have to rush. You have to take your time. And if possible, you can start from the right beginning of the textbook. Because when you start from the beginning, they will give you a lot of explanations and you end up getting the basics about that. Please take it very serious. The next thing I'll talk about is always try to think about what you learned. So let's say today you learned about the cell, and it says that the cell is a functional basic unit of life. So ask yourself, why are we saying the cell is the smallest functional unit of life? Why are we saying the cell is the smallest functional unit of life? Why is it possible? Why is that even possible? Are you getting what I'm saying? Because the more you think about it, the more it processes and get into the long-term memory. Because whenever you learn something new, it's always at your short-term memory. Until you make it to go to the long-term memory, it will not last long in your brain. So please try and always think about what you learn. Next point I'll talk about is always try to make what you are learning practical. Always try to make what you are learning practical. Let's say if you read about the skeletal system, you can try to feel some of the bones. Like when you touch your ribs, your chest, you feel that the ribs are there. So you become excited that really, I have some ribs. I can see the ribs. I can feel the ribs. So whenever you meet it in an exam, you find it easy to answer it because you know that you have it within yourself and you've ever touched it, you've ever felt it. Are you getting that? If you read about the cardiovascular system, try to feel it. When you put your hand at the left side of your chest, you can hear the heart beating, and that is a way of making it practical. I said that you can look at your hands and you can see some of the veins. You can see your veins. And it's a way of making it practical, and it's a nice way of understanding and making what you've learned very easy. The next thing I'll talk about is this. Please try to teach your colleagues. Try to teach your colleagues. Try to teach your colleagues. Please, whenever you finish learning, and sometimes others will think you have to know everything before you learn your colleagues. No. You can take only one topic and learn the topic very well and go to your colleague. Don't tell him, Bernard, I want to teach you. No. Just go straight to him. Hey Bernard, today I learned about the cell and the book said the cell is the smallest functional unit of life. So what do you think about it? Do you have any idea about it? So by interacting with your colleague or by trying to teach him, he might end up asking you some questions, and if you're able to answer those questions, it processes what you've learned into the long-term memory. And that is a nice way of learning. Please try to do that. Try to verbalize what you've learned. The next point that I'll talk about is always try to review what you learn. Always try to review what you learn. At the end of every 45 minutes, at the end of every hour, at the end of every 2 hours, we have everybody and the number of minutes you can use to learn. Others use 45 minutes, others use 2 hours, others use 1 hour, and others use 4 hours. Others can even spend the whole 24 hours on studies. But always try to review what you learned. After you've learned, ask yourself, today I went to school, so what I thought did I learn? Today I went to the classroom, I went for preps, what I thought did I learn? I read about anatomy and physiology, I learned about the cardiovascular system, urinary system. So by thinking, by reviewing, it helps it to stick into your brain. The next thing that I would like to talk about is this. Try to reward yourself after learning. if you are able to provide an answer to what you learned, try to reward yourself. You can get a bottle of maybe drink. Just make yourself happy, and it's a nice way of learning. Thank you for watching, and I would like you to subscribe to my channel.